In September 1970, while students were protesting the Vietnam War and listening to Edwin Starr, a highly influential man, by many considered a forward thinker, expressed the following remarks in an article in the New York Times Magazine. There's one, and only one social responsibility of business: to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits, so long as it stays within the rules of the game, which is to say, engages in open and free competition without deception or fraud. While these words might sound very harsh, they come from Milton Friedman, a Nobel Prize laureate who is regarded as one of the most influential architects of neoliberal economic and business theory. Friedman was an advisor to former US President Ronald Reagan and British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, as well as to other political leaders, who all brought his ideas of a free market system into the political domain. In the 1970s and 80s, Milton Friedman's idea, which basically said that the whole purpose of a company was to increase its profits and shareholder value, was eagerly embraced by powerful interest groups, such as corporate raiders, institutional investors, and CEOs whose pay was tied to stock price performance. As a result, maximizing shareholder value rose from an arcane academic theory and a New York Times Magazine article to dominant business practice today. Friedman's monetary theory, as Edward Nelson points out in this paper, even influenced the Federal Reserve's response to the global financial crisis of 2008. Research, however, shows that the idea of maximizing shareholder value is not only dangerously simplistic and completely irrational, but also destructive to society, nature, and actually to shareholders and companies as well.
What's happened is that we're learning is that pursuing shareholder value is bad for shareholders as well as pretty much everyone else, with the exception of some hedge funds and some executives.
This is Lynn Stout, a professor of corporate law at Cornell Law School, who wrote a book debunking the shareholder myth. She says that data reveals that shareholders are suffering their worst investment returns since the Great Depression. Furthermore, since 1997, the population of publicly listed companies has declined by 38% in the US and by 48% in Britain. And the life expectancy of top businesses has declined from an average of 61 years back in 1958 to just around 15 years today. If companies were species, we would call this a rapidly unfolding massive extinction event. And even new tech companies aren't immune to the destructive idea of maximizing shareholder value. A Stanford University study revealed that innovation tails off by 40% at tech companies after they go public, often because of pressure to keep increasing stock prices, even if that means curbing the entrepreneurial spirit of the company. So, I think that the ideology proposed by Friedman and others is about to break down. Already today, companies are increasingly realizing it isn't enough nor beneficial for an organization to merely be focusing on profits and shareholder value. Customers, employees, and investors are all increasingly demanding a company to embody a purpose that goes beyond the maximization of profit and aims to solve social and environmental problems. Young generations in particular are increasingly avoiding businesses that harm the environment and people. A 2015 study by Deloitte revealed that 83% of millennials made decisions about companies based on their positive social impact, 77% based on a company's purpose, and 47% of millennials stated specifically that part of the purpose of a company was to improve society or to protect the environment. However, within organizations, there is still a huge disconnect between what young employees want and existing action from the employer side. A study by PwC shows that while millennials are 5.3 times more likely to stay with their current employer when they have a strong connection to the organization's purpose, only 27% help their employees connect their own purpose to the company's goals. So I think what we will soon see is that companies will have to move beyond mere profit, or they will simply lose the talent war to companies that offer a more compelling conception of business. And such a more compelling conception of business also has its benefits, as data shows. The 2016 Workforce Index study by LinkedIn and Imperative shows that purpose-driven employees have much higher levels of fulfillment in their work, are more likely to be in leadership positions, and to be promoters of their employers in comparison to other employees. Furthermore, companies that lead with purpose have experienced more growth and revenue over the last couple of years than companies prioritizing profits only. And finally, a study by Deloitte found that purpose-driven companies are more likely to embrace new technologies, new markets, and innovation as compared to non-purpose-driven companies. It is such studies that explain why companies with a clear and inspiring purpose outperform others, as author Simon Sinek explains in his TED Talk.
Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? The inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out.
So what we are seeing right now is an exponential rise of so-called B-certified companies, which are companies that meet rigorous standards of social and environmental performance, accountability, and transparency. In addition, there are more and more so-called benefit corporations in the US. These are for-profit corporations, which include positive impact on their society, workers, the community, and the environment, in addition to profit as their legally defined goals. This means that executives of such corporations are allowed to sacrifice shareholder value or profit for the sake of protecting the environment or workers without having to worry about investors or shareholders suing them. So I think all of this shows that it is about time that we take Milton Friedman's idea in historical context and recognize it as a relic of a past and perhaps simpler time. Especially as we see ourselves increasingly in need for new solutions that help us tackle complex problems such as climate change, resource depletion, and rising inequality. So I can't stop wondering, what if we have it all wrong? What if the success of Apple, Google, Tesla, and others is not due to their technologies, their innovations, or even their genius founders and CEOs? Maybe we attribute way too much of their prosperity to these factors. Maybe the root of their success is something else. What if their secret weapon is actually an inspiring purpose, which aims to have a social impact? What if we are in the early stages of a shift towards a purpose economy? A shift with an impact as big as the internet, giving birth to an economy where purpose-driven businesses that do good for society and the environment are the world's biggest, most valuable and influential organizations.